Hello and welcome back to the Baggies podcast YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about Karlan Grant, who has joined Cardiff City on a season-long loan. So let's roll those titles and get straight into today's video. So let's talk about Karlan Grant, who has of course joined Cardiff City on a season-long loan from West Brom. So the Cardiff obviously, it's a deal that progressed pretty quickly over Saturday afternoon. Quite an interesting one as well. Obviously, a player that scored a fair amount of goals over the past couple of seasons in the Championship for Albion. So you can see a lot of the reaction on Twitter as to Cardiff City fans going, "Yeah, what a brilliant signing we've got." And I think, yeah, at face value, the goal record in the Championship isn't so bad, but I think there's a bit more to Karlan Grant that perhaps meets the statistics really in terms of his goal record. But Cardiff are believed to be paying the majority of his wages. There's no permanent deal included, and as I say, he didn't take part in that pre-season friendly with Shrewsbury Town, which Albion won 3-1 with goals from Jason Molumby, Adam Reach, and Connor Townsend on Saturday earlier that day. So that deal was confirmed Saturday afternoon. As I say, it progressed very quickly, and you see a lot of the reaction on social media, and of course, social media, take with a pinch of salt always. You see comments, and a lot of social media. You see about sort of 10% of the fan base is talking, and I think Cardiff City fans believe they've got a very good deal. So perhaps to paint a little bit of a picture of Karlan Grant and what this will leave Albion, because I feel like it leaves Albion in actually a slightly better position than perhaps when he was at the club, which I think will be interesting to discuss. But let's discuss his time at Albion. Of course, he joined Cardiff on that season-long loan. He won't be playing for Albion this season. Obviously, won't be playing against Albion either. I've seen a lot of comments saying he'll be scoring against Albion, and I believe if he goes on a permanent deal, he definitely will. But obviously, loans mean that he won't be able to play against his parent club. So he scored 24 goals in 101 appearances at West Brom. So that's a mix of a little bit of Premier League when he joined the club, which was a deal believed to be around £16 million, which was paid over the course of like the next 5 years of his contract. He began his time at the club as a striker, and then he moved to a left wing position under 𝘬𝘰𝘶𝘨𝑒𝘶, where he played sort of left of a front three, back to a striker under Steve Bruce, and then left wing indeed sparingly, but left wing under Carlos Corberán, who wasn't believed to be a plan, but a fan of his. Doesn't really suit the style of play that Carlos Corberán wants to play. I think Grant doesn't strike me as the most technically brilliant player. I think he's a decent finisher, but technically brilliant player, which I think is what Corberán really needs on the wings. Very dynamic and willing to take his man on. I don't think Karlan Grant is that. It's the car at the start of Carlos Corberán and Karlan Grant is really tripping me up here. But yeah, he's had mixed reviews during his spell at West Brom. That's definite to say. I think in times you can sort of question his sort of effort levels, application attitude. You can definitely question all of those during his time, particularly towards the end of last season. Parts of this season when he played, I think at the start of this season you could probably question that because of the amount of time he spent, up front under Steve Bruce when he had his time at the start of the season. That Karlan Grant was his first choice as we went into the campaign, with Brandon Thomas Asante obviously on the bench, 𝘺𝘰𝘶𝘳 injured. But I think Grant, as for a decent of a finisher as he is, I think technically he lacks a lot. I think attitude, application, fight spirit, I think he does lack quite a bit, and I think that's where Albion fans have sort of drawn the line with him, because that is where he's lacked in his game over the past couple of seasons particularly. We didn't really notice it so much in the Premier League. He was very limited to minutes, started up front under 𝘵𝘰𝘶, scored on his debut I believe, but then in other games really struggled. So yeah, I think Grant, I've not been a big fan of him, particularly over the last season, but for a large part of the season before as well, despite his goals under 𝘬𝘰𝘶𝘨𝑒𝘶, that flurry during the October and November period where we were winning games 1-0, 2-0, he was scoring the goals most of the time. I think bar that, I really did question sort of his attitude and his application. That was the first time we kind of got to see him in his full sort of gleam, really, with Grant. We got to see him a lot of his game time being played under 𝘬𝘯𝘰𝘶, but I think ultimately he did struggle. And yeah, I think it is. Yeah, if we talk about whether it's right to let him go, and I think obviously it's clear Albion needed the funds. Within one of the highest earners, and not a starter under 𝘬𝘯𝘰𝘶. He was a starter when everybody was fit, when everybody wasn't fit, and we had lots of injury problems toward the end of last season. Grady, Matt Phillips both out. I think that was when he started playing more, but I think it's a good move. You've got a player here who probably doesn't suit the system that Carlos 𝘬𝘯𝘰𝘗 wants to play. Doesn't really suit the Albion fans. I think they've a lot of supporters have really drawn a sort of line with him now and aren't really willing to give him another opportunity. And I think it's probably best for him as well. I don't think he's really going to kick on at Albion anymore. I think he's probably best going to another Championship club. Maybe he'll join Cardiff permanently after this, but I think he'll probably do well at Cardiff, that's for sure. The only shame really for me is that there's no buy option. I think it'll probably suit quite well him going on a permanent deal rather than this loan deal, and you just hope as an Albion fan, seeing the funds come in, could this leave a bit of room for somebody else to come in? Probably not on a permanent deal, but certainly a loan, of course. Hutchinson from Chelsea, Amari Hutchinson's been sort of linked again after being close to completing a loan move in January. So yeah, it's a little bit of a shame to see Grant go after that decent season that he had, but I think really it's probably best for both parties that he moves on. He's obviously got a bit of goal scoring ability in the Championship, knows where the goal is, of course, cutting in off that left hand side as he did so often under 𝘬𝘯𝘰𝘗. But I think really attitude, application, where Carlos 𝘬𝘯𝘰 wants it most. I think if Carlos 𝘬𝘯𝘰 had his way, he might be able to step up a press a little bit more this season, but I don't think he'll be able to do that if your front three involves Karlan Grant. So I think I'm disappointed in sort of the way his Albion career has gone. I don't see him really returning to the club unless he has an absolute blinder at Cardiff City and scores loads of goals, which I can see him scoring some goals at Cardiff. I can see him scoring 15. I can't see maybe Brandon Thomas-Asante scoring 15. Maybe 𝘤𝘰𝘶𝘳 might score 15 if he gets fit for the start of the season. But really disappointing to see sort of the way Karlan Grant, he was such a big hype signing. It was either him or Miroslav Orsic, who's obviously gone to Southampton recently, and I think left Southampton recently as well. But I think Grant, we kind of hyped him up to be this saviour, this striker, this number 9 we've all needed, and he's not really a striker if we have to be honest with ourselves. He's more of a sort of left winger, left forward, and he's not proved to be what we were looking for as Albion fans, and I'm sure the management team are probably not really excited. It's really bad that we've sort of staggered his deal, staggered the transfer fee payments as well, which has kind of hindered us in trying to get rid of him. Might have had a part to play in the permanent move not being sort of applicable to this loan spell at Cardiff. But yeah, a disappointing time at the club for Karlan Grant. Obviously, it is only a loan. He could come back. He could play really well and come back to Albion a better player, but I really do doubt that. I think he'll probably play quite well at Cardiff. I think he'll score some goals, but I think his sort of bridge has been burnt with the Albion fans. I'm not sure that many are willing to give him a chance, and yeah, it's probably best for both parties. I think it'd probably be better if it was a permanent move, but as I say, there's payments being staggered for his initial deal to Albion, probably not helped with that at all. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Grant gets on. But as for Albion, it leaves them with Brandon Thomas-Asante and 𝘤𝘰𝘂, who of course is injured at the moment. Up front, it leaves Grady Diangana and Matt Phillips on the wing. And yeah, just wanted to pull up this stats sort of diagram for how Grant's career at Albion looked like just finally, because this is him over the last season. Obviously, you can see him ranking quite low against a lot of the other players in the top 8 leagues in Europe, which is basically the Championship and the other top 7. But yeah, of course, he hasn't looked very good in terms of his finishing. His XG hasn't managed to get lots of that, but again, he didn't really play much last season. Shot creating actions, he's not very creative as a forward, but he is someone who likes to get on the end of crosses and likes to sort of get in behind when he can. But it's just what Grant you get on the day, and a lot of the time for Albion we've seen a Grant that doesn't particularly seem like he wants to be there. But yeah, interesting to see how he gets on at Cardiff. But that sort of brings me into this video. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for getting involved and joining me for today's video. And hopefully we'll catch you again in the next video when we'll have some incomings to talk about, because hopefully this move will free up some funds for Albion to bring somebody in. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Wow, you've made it to the end of the video. If you made it this far, you might as well go and subscribe. You can subscribe and get all the latest Baggies podcast content straight into your YouTube subscription feed. It's free, and you can turn the notification bell on as well so you never miss an upload. Make sure to comment your thoughts, whether you agreed or disagreed on anything in today's video, and make sure you follow us on our various social media channels. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and even the new Threads. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.